everyone, I'm Ekaterina from the Future London Academy, and I'm here today with Ilaria Squicciarini from Depop.
Hi.
Hello, Ilaria.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Well, welcome to our interview today, and I'm really excited because we'll be talking about very interesting topics around Generation Z, Millennials, branding, community management. So I think these topics are very hot and popular right now. So I hope we'll have a very deep discussion about that. But before we start, I thought it would be good to explain to people what is Depop, because I think it's very popular in UK and US, but not in every single country.
We're getting there.
Yeah, so from where I like the description that I saw somewhere, which is like it's part Instagram, part eBay. So essentially it's like a marketplace where people can sell their clothes, but also it's a curated feed where people can follow each other and kind of follow trends. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, totally. Actually, you gave me a really specific example, which is like it's a mix between Instagram and eBay. So yes, Depop is a social marketplace where you can actually buy and sell things. And that is, let's say, the tech side of Depop, which is a shopping app, is a peer-to-peer shopping app. And then there's another side of Depop, which is like the branding side of Depop, which is a marketplace to empower the next generation of creatives. Depop has been founded by a guy called Simon Beckerman, and he founded a magazine back in Italy called Pig, which is not the animal, it's like People in the Groove. And it was all about discovering new talents, like new creatives within arts and music and fashion and design. And everything started from the idea to let the readers of that magazine to shop from the same people reading the same magazine. Mm. So that's how Depop has started. Then like it becomes constantly something bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think what people realize from within the community is that we didn't do this, let's say, from a like business perspective. We didn't start this with the main goal of making money out of this. And I think that what made Depop successful, because when kids smells business, they're like, no, I don't want this. And I think Depop has become like an authentic marketplace, and they realize that is a place where they can actually make money out of it. We opened 2 spaces in US. One is in New York and the other one is in LA. And both spaces, even if we call them spaces and not shops for a reason, because even if we have a selection of items for a specific group of sellers, we still see these spaces as a sort of destination for our sellers where they can go and like learn things, because we organize workshops that can help them understand how they can use specific tools to let them grow their Depop shop. Or we organize talks with, I don't know, emerging designers so they can have an understanding of what does it mean to launch a brand within fashion right now. We had this talk with this girl called Nicole Saldana. She did a collaboration with Opening Ceremony last year, and she was like, "I love Depop. I really want to like help you guys telling how did I get here." As a brand, I don't want to say that we don't really exist, but we succeed if they succeed. So that's, let's say, the principle that we try to apply in everything that we do.
And I think that's kind of a trend for majority of Depop customers, that they have something. So this brand that they built is not their full-time job. It's even if it's very successful, it still could be only a side hustle. And they could be still at uni, some are still at school. I think the earliest age you have 14, is that correct?
Well, it could be. Let's just say that 90% of our user is under 26.
Exactly. I know, I feel very old when I hear that people are making brands and businesses at the age of 25, and some are even 14 and 16. So they see it as a kind of a thing they can do on the side. Is that the majority of people who are on the platform? They kind of want to have that side hustle until they find a job, or do people feel like that could be their job?
Well, we have people actually who takes this as a full-time job. So we have different kind of people. For example, personally me, I'm more a buyer than a seller. So I use Depop just to buy things. Well, when you're a seller, you could be a full-time seller. So we have people earning like a lot of money, like 6 digits, like 6 digits like on a year base, but still it's a lot of money. And this guy I'm talking about is called Oliver's Archive. It has, I think, it is like 14 or like something. Like, what did I do wrong? What happened? But yeah, so we have people who actually use Depop as a full-time job. So they see this as their only job. And then we have people who actually sell their things just because they don't want them in their bed, like in their closet, or they don't have space for that. And that will actually happen specifically with influencers. So we have managed accounts, and like we actually take care of their clothes, like the clothes that they don't want anymore. Last one that we onboarded was Lily Allen. That was last week. And yeah, she's like the classic example of someone selling the things because she doesn't have space for them, and she just, I mean, I think it's not really a matter of money for her, but just because again she doesn't have space.
How did that happen? Did she approach you, or you kind of pick these celebrities to collaborate with?
We have a team specifically working on influencers. I really hate that word, but the thing is, the way they approach people is they try to find people who are aligned with our community, aligned with our values, with our aesthetics, because of like, maybe because they like Depop or because they love Depop. I know of a lot of people who actually shop on Depop, but they don't tell their friends that they're on Depop because they're like big celebrities.
But you do a lot of social media, you communicate, again, you grow your community on probably every social channel that you can imagine, from Snapchat to YouTube to Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere you post very unique content as well. It's not like just sharing the same thing. You can, like, you have a show on YouTube about kind of the style and the trends, and probably it's not for me. I tried watching it. I think it's for people slightly younger than me, but it was very interesting, like how much thought goes into that, and kind of how and it's run by your own team. It's all internal, which is interesting. So can you tell a bit more about your overall marketing strategy? Like, was it a conscious decision you need to be on every single platform, or you kind of trying out and seeing what works? And how much time does it take to support all of that? Because it looks like a lot.
Okay, so the good thing about the brand marketing team at Depop is, let's say that we have more business strategy people, and it's me, Peter, who's the CMO, Johan, who's like head of digital, and then we have a part of brand marketing team who is studio team, so they are the creatives. We always work cross-functional. So let's say that in terms of how does it work, which are the steps, is we have an idea. So we have an idea that comes from an insight, from research, or like for whatever is like the starting point. And then is, okay, we need to do this because of this and this and this. So let's say that within the strategy team, like the strategy team is in charge of the why we're doing that. And then there's...
And when you say you have an idea, that could be, we need to do a pop-up, or is it more like yellow is the trend now, so we should do something around yellow? What's the idea?
It could be what is relevant for people right now. Back in June last year, we started thinking, okay, so what might be relevant for like people from within our community, what we could do. And for example, we decided we wanted to push on one specific product category that was vintage, because we have different product categories. The top performing ones are vintage, sneakers, and streetwear. So we decided we wanted to do something to push vintage a lot. And we did a lot of research, and we came out with a theme that was rave. Rave in the 90s specifically. I mean, we decided to cover rave in the 90s because of what was happening in fashion. I mean, Gucci released a documentary for Freeze about rave. I mean, a lot of fashion collection were about, like, had an influence from rave. So we decided to, let's say, explore these past subcultures through music, clothes, and photographs. So we collaborated with a brand called NTS, and they're famous for exploring music in specific subcultures. We collaborated with the Photographic Archive, which provided us with 30 pictures from the past, with from the rave from the past. And then here the community, because we involved our community and we showed them the pictures and we were like, guys, can you find exactly the same matching items in the picture? And they did it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they did it, which is like insane, because again, the campaign was all about telling the story about the items in the pictures, and we wanted to let people understand that there's a story behind like a vintage item, and that's why we told the story about music, photographs, and like items. And then when it came to activating the campaign as a launch party, we actually throw a rave party. So like the launch party was a rave party.
So exciting.
Yeah, and we showcase, we take over a place called Corsica Studios, which was really famous for rave parties in the 90s in London. So we kind of built this cage that was with picture, like for archive pictures on the sides, and like within the cage we had these mannequins with the outfits with the same like items in the pictures, and that in that moment people like realize how actually can like can be relevant buying something from the past. And that was actually at today still one of the most successful campaigns that we ran, and that has been activated online, on the app, social, like paid marketing, CRM, everywhere, and also offline with the launch party.
Oh, that's an amazing example, and I think it's just when you think about Depop, rave does make sense, and also like how you activate it through different channels. I think that's incredible. I think the biggest question especially for people who are watching us always is like, but how do you come up with this first idea, the rave? Like, because again, if we talk about the community of Gen Z or millennials, it's very difficult to think what will be relevant for them, especially if majority of the company is not Gen Z. So how do you understand what this new theme or trend will be? Is it like internally you just sit down and pitch ideas? Do you kind of buy trend reports and look through that? What would be the process?
I think personally for me it's both like doing a bit of research in terms of like reading a lot. Like I read a lot of articles that of course is not like the only source for data, but sometimes it could be helpful, and also remembering that we are in fashion, you need to be like aware of what's happening in fashion. So you kind of personally, you have to be good at understanding what's happening in fashion and translating to what our audience wants. Because I mean, we couldn't do anything about, I don't know what was the theme last year. There was a theme specifically that we couldn't cover because it would have been not relevant for them. So it's also about a matter of understanding your audience. There are a lot of reports about like Gen Z, but that could be just the starting point, because that is when you try to describe someone, it's really hard. While I'm lucky enough that I have the possibility to talk to them, because we run a lot of events in the headquarters, so I have the opportunity to talk to them. And when it came to this campaign that I just told you about, I was constantly like talking to them. Like I met them, I don't know how many times for lunch, for dinner, because I needed to talk to them and ask them like, what do you think we should do with this? Do you think this item is relevant, or do you think we should use another one? Or also like, I asked them like, what do you think could be like the next theme we should do a campaign about? And they gave me a lot of ideas. Then of course it's up to you to assess like if it's relevant or not. But let's say that's the way I kind of try to find an idea. I look online a lot in terms of articles.
Any specific publications that you read about?
Business of Fashion is one of the first one. Then I really love the way they do podcasts. I think they're really interested. interesting. And also there are different like magazines that I tend to read. Also, it depends if we're talking about business or if we're talking about like fashion.
I think like in general, like especially Gen Z or like what's going on in the world, how to keep up to date with the trends.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bit hard. Like my personal suggestion is I kind of, now that I've been working at Depop for 2 years, I kind of have an understanding of what people might like on the app. So I would never do something about extreme luxury because this is not what Depop is. Also because I have in mind which is our average selling price, which are the things like the brands that are trending on Depop. And it's easier for me to like, okay, reading at an article and say, okay, this might not be really good for us, or maybe seeing something happening in the world, because this is at the end of the day what it is, like what is happening in the world that could be interesting like for our people. And then you instantly like put all the things together, like these are the things that they like on the app, these are the things that they like on social, these might be relevant for them. Now this is, let's say.
And let's talk about Gen Z and millennials in general, because I think this is such a fascinating topic that deserves a bigger chunk of time. But I think if you read online, it says Depop is the app for millennials, but technically I think probably it was for millennials. Now it's technically only covers Gen Z, because 24, 25 is, and below it is Gen Z. And it's probably one of the most discussed audiences right now, because no one can figure out them completely, as with any new generation and new habits. What was your personal, I suppose, most surprising thing that you learned about Gen Z while working with them that you're like, whoa, I didn't know that?
Let's say that we live in a world where big brands, in the past, they thought that consumerism was kind of the solution for everyone's happiness. While I think right now we are in a world where people prefer authenticity rather than just buy things. And also they prefer a one-to-one connection rather than being associated to big brands. And that goes back to the idea of people, specifically Gen Z, they tend to prefer like individual brands rather than big brands, because again, this is what Depop is. We don't consider ourselves like a big brand, and that goes back to the idea of we succeed if they succeed. I don't want to say that we don't exist as a brand, but we try to hide as a brand and just put them on the stage. And I think that was the biggest learning for me, also because comparing to like my previous job, it was a completely different thing, because I mean I work with big brands, and like the way they approach branding, it was a bit different. So I can clearly say how different like Gen Z audience is from like other audience, me specifically.
And in terms of like how they, I suppose, use technology or their behaviors in general, not just towards fashion, but lifestyle, and again, you're a tech company, so using the tech products and social media, what are the things that you kind of noticing happening with them?
They're more tech savvy than millennials. I read somewhere that millennials generally interact on 3 social media at a time, or like 3 different devices at a time, while they interact up to 6.
Oh, wow.
Which 6. Is like, yeah, my brother is a Gen Z, like he is 10 years younger than me. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I don't know how you can do that. But yeah, definitely like the tech side of Gen Z is way different from millennials. And the other thing is, millennials were more about experience, getting amazing experiences, while Gen Z is more about consciousness. They're more conscious about their choices. And specifically now we're seeing a lot of interest in the sustainability side of things, and in our case in fashion. And that's another thing that we're still exploring. But if you think of Depop, we are sustainable by definition because you're buying secondhand. And we noticed that they're really interested in the sustainability side of Depop. So in the idea of make a sustainable choice. So that is definitely something that they're interested in, and you can clearly see how more conscious that they are.
How would you address the thing that Gen Z are lazy and unfocused and all of that? I think that's the quote from the Simon Sinek, I think, became like almost a slogan for...
Well, in terms of like personal behavior, if they're lazy or whatever, that is something that I'm not able to tell. I can tell that, again, looking at their behavior on our platform, I can tell that they're really, actually, they're not really lazy. Like, they're really reactive. They're really fast. And I think, I don't know if this is part of, again, of the world that we're living in, but I think they, by definition, they feel empowered. So the social media aspect of like our work kind of gives you the power to like say something, while before we were a bit like, oh, I don't know how to like share my voice. While now everyone feels they have the power to say something, and they know that like whatever they say has an effect. Social media is an important channel for brands. So if a brand does something wrong, they know that they can complain on social media, and they know that they will have an effect, and like they know that they can have an impact.
I actually would agree that definitely the whole laziness is not applicable to Gen Z. And even if we think about Depop, that's technically their side hustle when they're like 15, 16, whatever, 20. And not many 15 and 20-year-olds, even in millennial generation, were earning money and like focused on earning money and building brands and doing something while still studying or while even having other jobs. I think so I read some stories from Depop members where they actually have a job but they still have Depop as a side hustle. So it's like, definitely I can't say from especially the audience that you have that they are the lazy ones, but there is definitely a change in the way they earn money and they approach work. It's not like 9 to 5, it's not a big chunk, it's more like small chunks of in the evening picking the clothes that I will sell, or maybe weekend spending. So it's not like consistent, it's more like here and there, flexible with your own time, thinking for yourself what you want to spend your time on, which is again very different dynamic to I suppose my generation before. Did you notice that as well?
Well, definitely they, probably because they're younger at least than me, I can see that they're more flexible. Mm-hmm. So they're really when they come to the office, they're like really chilled out. Like, how can you be like this? I mean, teach me how. Probably because all the people that I met, all the Depop sellers that I met are all so positive. That, I mean, they always gave me the idea that like they were doing something fun, or at least better than what I was doing. No, I'm joking. But I can tell that they're more flexible than us. Probably because, I mean, Depop is also, I mean, it depends if you see Depop as a full-time job or not, but still it's something that is not restrictive. So you don't have, I mean, it's not like a normal job. So you don't have really specific time you could be in the office, or you don't have deadlines, or you don't have this, you don't have that, apart from the 10% fees. Like we don't give them any kind of restrictions. So they know how to manage their work. And one thing they do is actually they travel the world to source the items. There's a seller who will be at the market in 2 weeks. Was actually in Thailand to source all the items that he's selling. Yeah, and it's pretty flexible. I can tell from Instagram stories that,
great. So they're like positive. They're definitely more mindful, and I think they looked at the millennial generation being crazy, working hard, and they're like, no, we don't need that in our lives. We want to be more.
Yeah, we're not saving lives, so we don't need that.
I think that's amazing, and that kind of gives me hope in the next generation that hopefully they'll have less anxieties and depressions than what I think the millennial generation is experiencing now. But obviously they will be facing other obstacles that they have to deal with, and kind of the infinite choice of things that you can do at the same time, because you're not constrained to one job and one kind of way of working.
Yeah,
gives you too many options, and I think that could be a quite confusing world to be in, where you can do anything at any time, at any point, at any country.
Yeah.
So how do you even pick where you live?
Exactly. And I think like the difference between Gen Z and millennials is that I think millennials are never satisfied about what they're doing. While Gen Z are more, again, going back to the idea of being more conscious specifically about yourself, because there's also this big trend about healthy food and like healthy choices. Millennials are more about working. What's next? What do I go after this? And sometimes it's not really, let's say, healthy for you as a person, because you don't never feel you are enjoying what you have. Why this is something that, at least with Depop sellers, I notice, like, they're good with themselves, which is good for them. We can learn a lot of things from them, literally.
I totally agree with that. And I think it's so funny how every generation kind of hates next generation, because they always feel like they're definitely the weirdos who don't know how to live the life, because we know how the life's supposed to be. And then you look at them and they're healthier and happier, and they're actually like, okay, we actually have to learn how to be that. And yeah, definitely we have to let go of lots of our conceptions about what we need to do in life and what we need to achieve and all of that, which can be quite stressful.
Yeah, I know. I had this conversation with my mother, because I told you that my brother is a Gen Z, and sometimes I can clearly see the way that it's really hard for her to communicate with him. And sometimes I'm like, just let him go. Just stop trying to like constrict this guy within like specific terms or whatever. And she's like, why? I'm like, well, okay. But yeah.
We have so much to learn how to work and how to communicate with Gen Z. But in terms of the brand communication with Gen Z, because again, that's what you as Depop focus on. How did you notice any difference in terms of the content that you post on social media and social channels, again, to engage better with that generation compared to your previous jobs and what you see other brands are doing?
Well, let's say the principle that guides social content, or like content in general, is kind of differentiate from what we see on other brands' social media. And the way it's structured is we have piece of content that we create about sellers or like within our team, and then we repost a lot. And if you notice, the things that we repost are like the funny ones, because at the end of the day, if we have to describe Depop from a brand personality perspective, Depop is fun. It's always been fun, like since day one. And we wanted people to have fun. And that's why we tend to repost content that we think is fun, personally. The main idea of social media is we want this place to be fun. Let's say on Instagram, you have people that you know, that you follow, and then you have big brands or like or companies that you follow. You want to see something that makes you smile. And that's why we decided to approach that kind of strategy for social, because your feed probably is like full of picture of images of this new campaign with like, I don't know, the girl doing this or like the guy jumping, whatever. But it's not funny. And sometimes people, like when you have 5 seconds to spend on like on your Instagram to scroll it down, you want to see something like, oh, okay, that's fun. And in that way, at least you remember that Depop is fun. And that's why we decided to do that, because I mean, we thought it's better to smile rather than just swipe.
So being fun, engaging with the community, sharing the community, and kind of constantly being part of the community. Any other things that you feel differentiate you as a brand on social channels, as well as in general, are good practices to build some presence with Gen Z on social media?
Well, what we're trying to do in terms of content, we have Instagram, let's say, as a main channel, and then we use YouTube a lot. We are working on a documentary series. All the documentaries will be about sellers from within the community. And again, this goes back to the idea of telling something about them. And I think that is what makes us different. Our biggest asset is not the marketplace, it's the community. So that's why, again, we want to try to push them in everything we do, because this is what we should try to leverage in everything.
I enjoy watching a couple of the episodes on YouTube about some of your sellers, and especially the famous ones, and kind of their thinking process, I suppose. It's very different again from what you would expect from other fashion brands or other tech. You're technically a tech brand as well, so from tech brands. I think what impresses me a lot there, you do produce all this content on all these channels.
Yep.
Do you see any kind of trends of what works the best for you? You mentioned the Instagram is the biggest one, but is it worth being on Snapchat? Is it worth TikTok? And all
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah. So any weird channels that we old people are not aware of, but we definitely need to be if we want to engage with Gen Z?
Every Monday morning we have this company regroup, so we catch up on everything happening like worldwide at Depop. Apparently TikTok has been a really successful channel in the US, so I don't know if that could be of interest for you. And definitely Snapchat is one of our best performing channel after Instagram for paid social.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And is it, again, what kind of type of content you post there to engage with the audience?
It depends on the message that we want to, we're testing a lot of things because again, we created a lot of content about the community, but maybe the message was not really clear in terms of Depop the app. So now we're testing a content with the community as well, but with a bit of app in that. So people might understand that we're not just a fashion or something brand, but we're actually a shopping app. And then we tested just content about the shopping app. And now we're like, seeing what is the best performing ones, but like we're constantly testing things, even because we started investing in paid marketing Q4 of 2018, so it's like literally yesterday.
And is it across all platforms you're doing paid marketing?
Yeah, most of them, like Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, we're doing Twitch, TikTok. Yeah, these are the main channels that we're using, and then of course like YouTube as well, Google.
And what doesn't work for millennials and Gen Z in terms of social channels, especially my question around Twitter, because I feel like that's an old people social network, probably even sometimes older than me. I don't go on Twitter for some reason, don't get it. Facebook, again, is seen as a parents kind of social network for a lot of Gen Zs. Any thoughts?
Well, again, our main channel is Instagram, really. Instagram and Snapchat, which I mean makes sense if you think of our audience. We use Twitter and Facebook as well, but we can see that like the response is not really good. So we will definitely still having investment in those channels, but Twitter is not our main one for sure. Instagram is the most successful one.
And in terms of working with specific type of audience, like you have now Gen Z, obviously they will grow up, and then there will be next generation, as well as what is your current strategy around the age and target audience that you want to attract? Are you planning to expand into the older people as well by attracting potentially celebrities that are kind of influencers in that generation, or are you waiting for this audience to grow up naturally and the new one fill the space, or you only focus on what you have?
Well, the thing is, you remember that I mentioned this brand awareness survey that we constantly run. So one, let's say, insight that came out from this was that definitely Gen Z is our main audience right now, but we're still targeting millennials as well, because in terms of awareness, a lot of people actually who knows the brand are between 25 and 35, which means that for now we will still do something for Gen Z, but specifically for this year at least we would also do something for millennials, if we want to call them that way. So in terms of next year, well, I'll let you know. It depends.
Like, do you have potential with like older generation, because I think there is a big trend in fashion in general, kind of being more diverse and inclusive of people over 60, 70. Again, that type of I suppose audience is growing, even with more traditional brands. Again, these are the people with money, these are the people who actually do enjoy their life and dressing up and have time for that. So it's kind of a growing audience in the fashion sense. Do you see that happening, or that's not, it's too...
So the audience is really different across countries. Let's say people who uses Depop in Italy are different from like people who uses Depop in the UK. But in terms of like diversity, the kind of diversity we're trying to focus on is more about LGBT, or is more about like colored people, just because we think that is the kind of diversity that is being represented in our community. So we want to be, let's say, coherent with the people that we have already on the platform. So that's why those are the two main things that we're trying to, wherever is possible, we're trying to push them.
In terms of what is there in the future for Depop and the next year, especially in terms of branding and your communication with the audience? Do you feel like there is anything interesting happening now that you will look into in the next year? Anything that people who are watching us should be aware of if, again, they're trying to talk to the different types of audience in a fresh and new way? What are you excited about for the next year?
Well, for this year and also next year, one thing that has become really big for us is brand collaboration, where we had quite a few brands approaching us, like big fashion brands approaching us saying, oh, we want to work with you. And when we asked them, okay, like, what do you want to do with us? I'm like, oh no, you do whatever you want. Oh, we're like, okay, cool. So this has been really interesting for us because this actually could be an amazing opportunity for us to act as a bridge, again, between big brands and like people who probably will never get the chance to get in contact with them. So we're working on quite a few collaborations, also product collaborations, where we are involving the community and we're asking them to design like products for these brands, which is actually incredible because at the end of the day, this product will have their name on that. And I think this is the interesting thing about this. And also we have been approached by department stores. So that's another thing, because that could be specifically in London, as we don't have the spaces. It might be amazing to have like that sort of window in big department stores. And that goes back to the fact that we're doing this for them. But sometimes, I mean, we're still figuring out how to like manage this, because sometimes it could be tricky for us. Because do you remember when I mentioned the fact that when kids smell business, they're like, no. And that's why we need to be careful, really careful with the way we approach our sellers and saying, guys, we can collaborate with this brand, but we don't want them to think that they've been sold to someone, because this is not what actually we're doing. We just need to like, again, be clear on the fact that this is an opportunity for them rather than for us. But yeah, I mean, these are the really excited things that are happening this year and also next year. And in terms of upcoming things, I'd say we have the two biggest events of this year. One happening end of May, a 3 days pop-up market in London. It's a sort of our thank you to our sellers. We never put together 50 sellers like in real life, and that's what we're doing. So we're gonna have this market with 50 sellers from Depop, and then we're gonna have music curated by these guys from NTS, and then we're gonna have food as well. But yeah, this is one thing, and the other thing is in New York. So we've been in New York for almost 4 years now, but we actually never did a launch. This would be like the best way to tell US what we're doing. So like what we do, what we stand for, what's our vision. It's called Depop Live, and it will be for 3 days, 7th, 8th, 9th of June. We're taking over a building basically, and we will have shoppable windows where we will have Depop sellers there. And as is in real life, people will be able to shop directly like in real life from Depop sellers. Then we will have performances, so we will have musicians, then we will have talks, a lot of workshop on reworking specifically, because again, we're trying to talk about sustainability, because again, that is something that is kind of embedded in the Depop nature. But I mean, it's hard to like say we're sustainable as a business, because to be sustainable we need it's a long way to go. But yeah, reworking is something that is really trending right now on Depop. So when people rework on things, basically they create something new without actually creating something new. And that is a kind of workshop that we were having there. And also we have talks about how to be successful and like how to have a successful Depop shop. And we will have our CEO having a speech there, a lot of super successful sellers in the US having a speech there as well. So yeah, that is what we have on the table right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be at that event.
I know,
so
tell me
cool.
about it.
Are you traveling to it?
No, I'm going to stay here for the London one. That will be like in 2 weeks.
Where's the London one?
Is second bank holiday of May, so it will be 25th, 26th, 27th, and it will be in Hackney. So actually, if you go already in Hackney, we have billboards and like wall murals everywhere of this big thing. And yeah, I mean, we're all excited about this.
Definitely, that's where we're going to be then.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Well, I have the last question for you.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about sustainability and kind of doing good for the world, and in general we as Switzerland Academy promote creative people to do something good. And so my question to you, if you could change one thing in the world, you had a magic wand and you could change one thing, what would it be?
Wow. Okay. If I could change one thing, let's say that there's a topic I really care about, which is being a woman at work. So there's this thing of like when you're a woman at work, you kind of feel that you have to constantly fight. You constantly have to be challenging. And let's say in a world where like men are perceived as leaders, like driven, and like visionaries, when you are a woman, you kind of are perceived as the problematic bitch, or like aggressive, or like disruptor, which is something that, let's say, consider myself relentless, which is why I got here today, so it's fine. But sometimes, I mean, you have to be lucky in the sense of depending on where you work. I feel quite lucky at Depop because I kind of have the possibility to gamify a no. So if someone say no, I feel like, oh, great, I'm gonna make it a yes. And that's great. But I think because I've been lucky working like at Depop, because most of our people within the leadership team are women. So it's been different, and I kind of see, and like I can see that like my ideas or like my thoughts have an impact on what we're doing as a company. Mm-hmm. But if there's one thing I would change, is this misconception of women at work being, again, problem maker rather than being just proactive and just smart as a man. Yeah.
Oh, it's such a great topic and such a great one. I feel like I could have another hour conversation with you about that. So maybe next time.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, Ilaria. It was such a pleasure and such an inspiration. And for those of you listening and watching us, Ilaria will be one of our experts during the Future of Branding Week together with her Depop team, which is really exciting. So the lucky ones who managed to get a place on the Future Branding Week, which is currently sold out and massive waiting. So apologies for those who can't join, but we will all meet Ilaria and ask many questions and see wonderful Depop office that looks gorgeous.
Can't wait.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again.
And until next time.